Hey teachers, today I wanted to talk to you about interactive student notebooks, or ISNs. I know that interactive student notebooks come and go throughout the years as the hot topic in the classroom, but I want to talk to you today about why they work and how you can set them up to make them work in the real world. I can't tell you how many interactive student notebooks I've seen abandoned over the years. Only a few pages are filled out, they're left at the bottom of desks, backpacks are piled up somewhere in the classroom. And I totally get it. Sometimes the expectations for these notebooks can be crazy and it's impossible to keep up with them as a teacher. But that's why I want to share with you what I do to implement my interactive student notebooks, how I set them up, what I put into the student notebooks, the rules that I keep for these notebooks, and how I keep them going all year long and oftentimes fill out a second one. These notebooks are things that your students will use for years to come, and I want to give that knowledge to you so that you can help yourself and your students to save time, energy, and to help the learning process. Let's get started. Hey teachers. So before we dive into my process for interactive student notebooks, first I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page and had the same definition of what an interactive student notebook, or ISN, is. Essentially, all it is a spiral notebook that students are creating as you go through your different lessons. So this is a student-created textbook. What your students are writing in this are notes. They're taping in different images or graphic organizers, foldables. All of those things can be put into this interactive student notebook, or ISN. It is a teacher-led textbook that the students are creating. It's something that's easily at their fingertips, that they'll keep with them all the time, and that can always be flipped through for reference. It's a great tool. A lot of people, even though it is a great tool, wonder, do I even need to use an interactive student notebook in my class? So I wanted to touch base on that real quick about why this is such a great tool and why we should be creating them in our upper elementary and middle school classroom. There are so many reasons why the interactive student notebooks are beneficial to your upper elementary and middle school classroom. So let me just touch on a couple of them before we dive into my system to set up the notebooks. First off, by using interactive student notebooks, you're able to accommodate every different type of learner out there. Whether students learn from writing things down, reading, or actually tangible touch, feeling, pasting, taping, turning pages, it all is accommodated with these interactive student notebooks. The second thing is this is creating a reference material that is right at your students' fingertips. They don't have to worry about getting onto a device if a device is charged or if the information they're receiving is accurate. They know that everything in this notebook is pertaining to what they are learning in class and will help them to keep moving forward in their academic career. The next thing is that this is teaching them an amazing life skill. Interactive student notebooks are teaching your students how to take notes, how to take the information that they are learning and organize it, and then come and refer back to it. This is a life skill that cannot be beat, and this is one that they will cherish forever. The last thing is that this reference material is something that your students can keep for years to come. I can't tell you how many times the teacher from the grade above me comes to me and says, thank you for having them create this notebook. We have been using it in class. It is amazing. We are going to follow the same model. And by having this reference tool, students always have that security of knowing that they can review. So the interactive student notebooks are really a win-win. The only downfall is that sometimes we get the idea that they need to be more complicated than they really are. So that's why I want to walk you through my setup process for interactive student notebooks, how I set them up to be realistic and work in the classroom. All right, it's time for me to share with you my interactive student notebook setup. I only do 3 things to set up the notebooks. 1, I have students write their first and last name, as well as the year and whatever class or subject the notebook is for on the front cover. That's it. Next, I'm going to have the students leave the first 2 pages of the interactive student notebook blank. These can be doodle pages or pages where they might need to write something that doesn't pertain to the interactive student notebook. That's it. We're going to leave those blank. Those are the student pages. They can do with them what they want. The last thing I do to set up my notebooks is on the 3rd page of the interactive student notebooks, students tape in their ISN rules. These are the guidelines that must be followed in the interactive student notebook. I have a free printable PDF of these ISN rules on my website, teachingintherealworld.com, in the teacher resources section. You can print this out and have students tape them into their interactive student notebook. We're going to get more into those ISN rules in just a minute, but that's all I do to set up my interactive student notebooks. Label the cover, leave the first 2 pages blank. Third page is for the ISN rules. That's it. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds way too simple, but believe me, I have done this for over a decade and it absolutely works. Here are the things that I got rid of that don't really work, the don'ts for interactive student notebooks. Remember, you've got to keep it real so that you can keep up with it. Let's check out the things I don't recommend. All right, I've told you about my super simple setup for interactive student notebooks. So now I want to talk about some things that I don't recommend. And this might seem like a shock to a lot of people because I think these things kind of are viewed as the pillars of ISNs. But these are things that really detour a lot of teachers. They're tedious and they're impossible to keep up with. So let's just get rid of them. First off, numbering pages. I do not recommend numbering the pages of your ISNs. Don't do it. Students will always need more space, less space. You'll never get everyone on the same page and it will drive you crazy. Avoid numbering the pages. To piggyback off of that, table of contents. You don't need it. Students are going to flip through that notebook whether they have a table of contents or not. I have tried using the table of contents and it's enough to make me not want to open the notebooks because I don't want to have to update it. So ditch the table of contents and let your students flip through the notebooks. They'll be fine with it. The last thing is the glossary. Don't put a glossary in your ISN. The students will never look at the glossary because it'll be at the back of the notebook. So whenever they need to find a vocabulary word or a phrase that they need a definition for, they're going to start flipping through the spiral. They're not going to think, oh, I'll just go back and look at my glossary. Furthermore, you can't possibly keep that glossary organized alphabetically, so they'll be flipping through the glossary anyways. I suggest just writing the vocabulary terms within the notes that you're taking for that day. Have students highlight them or flag them with a sticky note, but a glossary never quite works out. The things that I do recommend are simple, straight to the point, and help you to keep up with the interactive notebooks. And my interactive student notebook rules are easy to follow and are available on my website, teachingintherealworld.com. So let's jump into the rules that I implement for interactive student notebooks, the things that keep it up to date and keep it useful. All right, let's talk about the rules of interactive student notebooks. These are the rules that students need to follow in their interactive student notebook, and there are only 5 rules. With these rules, they are pasted or taped into the 3rd page of the notebook. I also send the rules home to parents. I also send home an informational letter to parents letting them know about the interactive student notebook. And all of these are available on my website, teachingintherealworld.com, in the teacher resources section. So let's dive into the rules. Rule number, let me check it. Rule number 1, you always put the date at the top of every single page, no matter what. We put the date on the top of every page. It helps to keep everyone on track, and it helps when students are absent as well. The second thing is that we never skip pages. Do not skip pages. You always, always, always go to the very next page. We aren't leaving any blanks in between. The third thing is that you will always start a new page every single day. So if the day before we only filled out half of the page with notes and there's still half of an empty page left, that doesn't matter. You're not going to continue writing on that page. We always go to the next blank page on the next day. The next thing is, and this might seem kind of silly, but close your notebook before putting it away. I know it seems silly, but it's one of those things where over the years, I've had to say it so many times that it just needed to become a rule. Because when you leave the notebook open and shove it into a backpack, a desk, or a bin, some page always gets lost or ripped out. And the last rule is always have your ISN with you. Always have that interactive student notebook with you. And oftentimes that's part of their to-do list, to get it out and have it on their desk. So that's it, the 5 simple rules to keep your interactive student notebook organized and keep it ready to be used within the classroom. Let's dive in next to what I put in my interactive student notebooks. So what do I even put in these interactive student notebooks? So obviously you're going to put any type of notes into these interactive student notebooks. You're going to put vocabulary words and definitions. You're going to have different processes, steps, Any type of information that your students can copy down or write down that relates to the lesson objective that you are teaching will go into this interactive student notebook. If you teach math, you might have practice problems, different examples, visuals. If you're teaching the elements of a story, you would have all of those listed, what the definitions are, any type of graphic organizers for that. So essentially any type of handwritten notes or any type of information that your students need to copy down are written into the interactive student notebook. We'll talk more about this later, but I highly suggest writing your notes in advance because that's an easy way for you to be able to help students copy down or make copies for them if they need accommodations later on in regards to notes. But essentially, students are going to be copying what you wrote in your master notebook into their interactive student notebook. They'll also be taping items in. So tape-ins or things that are glued into the interactive student notebook can feel a little overwhelming, so I want to talk to you about those as well. Let's talk about tape-ins for your interactive student notebooks. What I mean by tape-ins is I mean any type of paper, foldable book, image, any material that you want your students to tape or glue onto the pages of the interactive student notebook. These are an excellent way for you to create a great reference for your students. However, these tape-ins often detour a lot of teachers from interactive student notebooks because it's overwhelming and they think that they have to create something from scratch. You do not. Listen, if you want to tape in a process, an image, a worksheet, something that you printed out from your curriculum, all you've got to do is go to the copy room, make the copies, and find that gigantic paper cutter. Cut off the margins on the top, the bottom, the left, and the right, and guess what? It's going to easily fit into that interactive student notebook. If you still want it even smaller, go to your copy machine and choose the setting that allows you to shrink the image, print it out, cut off those margins and tape it in. You don't have to reinvent anything. You have to be realistic and use the resources we already have. As teachers, we're already strapped for time. Your students need these materials and you're gonna get them to them and make them easily accessible by taping them into the student notebook. They won't be floating around. They'll be there and ready for them to view. So cut off those margins and tape them in. Same thing with foldables. You don't need some crazy elaborate foldables. All you need to do is be able to create more space on a page, and that's what the foldable's for. Get a blank piece of paper and have students fold it. Do the four corners foldable, and there you go. They can open it up and look at more material that they've written inside of it. Don't make it too complicated. All right, let's look into some things that I do to keep up with my notebooks, make sure they're getting used, and to save me a lot of time. Let's talk about what I do to keep my interactive student notebooks up to date, to keep them in use, and to keep them relevant. So first and foremost, students are to have their ISNs on their desk every single day. It's part of their to-do list when they come into class. That ISN is expected to sit on their desk every single day, no matter what. So always make sure that they've got it out. Number two, you'll definitely need a document camera. If you don't have one, please talk to your administrator and hopefully you can get a document camera. It's a simple and easy way to display your master ISN so that students are able to copy down notes. By doing this, you're teaching them how to space things on the page, how to take the notes, how to, define or show different definitions with highlighting or asterisks or whatever you might need. So it's a great modeling resource. You'll also want to make sure that you have a master ISN for every single class that you teach or every single subject that you teach. So what I'm saying is if you teach 5 math classes, you'll want to have 5 interactive student notebooks, one for each class, just because each class has different needs in regards to their notes and differentiation, as well as the classes might be in different places within the curriculum. So you'll want to have a master ISN for every class. I highly suggest writing your notes in advance in your master ISN. So what you'll want to do is before class even starts, you could even write them the week before. You'll want to write out your notes in your master interactive student notebook. By writing your notes in advance, you're really saving yourself a lot of time and you're really allowing yourself to be present and there for your students when they're copying their notes down. So you'll write your notes in advance, you'll put that under the document camera, And while the students are writing their notes, you're obviously speaking to the notes, teaching, but you're able to walk around and offer support to those students who need it in regards to note taking. In addition to that, by writing your notes in advance, it's very easy for you to make accommodations for special education students. So if your notes are already written in advance, you can just go and copy a page of your notes, maybe white out some spots to leave blanks or fill in the blanks, and then that allows them to be able to take notes along with the rest of the class. They'll have your notes taped into their ISN, they'll be filling in the blanks, accommodation met, and that student is able to have an amazing reference material for the future. So in the end, doing your notes in advance will save you time and frustration, and it will also benefit your students. These are just some simple things that I do to make sure that my interactive student notebooks are getting used every day and are staying up to date. You just want to make sure that you're doing what works for you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to create these elaborate notes or systems within the notebook. We just have to keep it simple and remember that this is a tool to help students, so we need to be there for them as well. All right, those are my tips for interactive student notebooks. Remember to keep it simple. Don't number those pages. Don't create extra work for yourself. Remember what this interactive student notebook is. It's a tool for you and your students to have reference materials on hand. Make those notes in advance. Don't exhaust yourself over creating these elaborate tape-ins. Use what you've got, just cut those margins off. And you will find that your students love having this resource at their fingertips. The parents will love it too because they get to see what their kids are working on in class every single day. For more tips, please check out my website, teachingintherealworld.com. I've got free teacher resources that are printable and ready for you right now. I also have more videos. Please check out my YouTube channel, Teaching in the Real World. I'm here to help. I am a real teacher with real advice. I want to save you time, energy, and stress. Happy teaching.